Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to those of you in the room and those joining us online. Today is all about global public goods. It's all about promoting inclusive trade through digital tools. We have an excellent panel from three of the agencies that best exemplify the power of data and intelligence. We have Anya, the ITC. We have Catherine, the WTO. We have Mariana from the IP for Business Division at WIPO. And all three of these agencies recognize that there is an information disconnect in the free market. And this is not surprising. Like machinery or office space or employees or marketing budgets, access to data, trade and market intelligence is a valuable and key commodity in making any business, large or micro, competitive and profitable. But what happens when access to data is so imbalanced that it crowds out small firms, especially MSMEs from developing countries, crowds them out of the market? If small businesses are the engines of growth in developing countries, what happens when we disconnect them from their power source, which is data and intelligence? So global public goods like the Global Trade Helpdesk, the Trade for MSMEs platform, and the IP Diagnostics, it really seeks to fill that gap by providing accessible data and intelligence to MSMEs. I remember my mantra from last year: have honest, accurate, validated, easy. And this is what will be presented to you this morning. So we will have a Q&A afterwards, but now I'm very pleased to turn over to Anya, who with Catherine and Mariana will take you through the journey of these three tools. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Wilson. It's a pleasure to be here with you all, and definitely a pleasure to be here with these panelists who are wonderful and who share the same goal of trying to simplify life for small businesses, to try to make it a little bit easier to find the data they need, the resources they need, and to really be able to take advantage of new opportunities. So I will just quickly give a brief introduction and take us through the Global Trade Helpdesk. So, as Matthew mentioned, not having access to data, or sometimes having access to data scattered all over, can be a significant challenge for small businesses. Being able to find the reliable and the useful information and putting it together in a meaningful way is absolutely crucial. And especially for firms that need to adapt their products to each specific market, that need to invest a lot to be able to meet the specifications and the compliance costs in each market, it really is a big investment and a big risk if they don't know where to focus their energies and how to do this. So this is why we joined forces and created these tools to really try to simplify this process. And we'd like to take you on a journey through multiple platforms, but on one real trade journey, on something that takes us from A to Z in terms of what we should know before we trade, what we need to do throughout the process, and consulting the relevant tools along the way. So to take this journey with us today is going to be Carmen. Carmen is a beauty products, body cream and face lotion producer from Colombia. She has her own small business, employs 12 people. She has just started exporting to Peru, but she's looking for new opportunities. So she is going to be the example that we're going to take with us today. Now, to get started, we're going to have a look at Global Trade Helpdesk. This was something that was created at the Ministerial in Buenos Aires, and 11 agencies came together to join forces to try to simplify market research for small businesses. The idea is that in a single search, you now have access to 14 different databases, and you get the most precise information you can across markets for your product. So this is something that I would like to walk you through. The Global Trade Helpdesk was launched back in 2020. It's now available in 8 languages. It's got about 250,000 users across 190 countries. And I will quickly do a demo to show you how it works. So this is the Global Trade Helpdesk, as I mentioned. Here are the languages it's available in. Just this month, it was published in Chinese. We're very excited to have that be the 8th language. Now, using the Global Trade Help Desk is as easy as 1, 2, 3. So first, you need to select your exporting market. So in this case, I've already selected Colombia. Then you need to put in your product. I typed in beauty products and I was able to access the codes that correspond to beauty products. And I can see that this is the relevant code for skincare products. And then we can either already go for a specific market if we know where we're looking to go, or we can ask Global Trade Help Desk to propose the markets with the greatest export potential for beauty products from Colombia in the coming 5 years. So we can see here that the US, Ecuador, China, Peru are all top markets. We're just going to take a look at Mexico to diversify our options. And what the Global Trade Help Desk does first is it gives you a bit of an overview of how economically attractive the market is. So we're going to look at market size, market dynamism, how quickly is it growing, how is Colombia performing in this market? So we can see that it has 9% of the import share, but it's growing quickly, and actual imports have been about 60 million in last year. So doing quite well. Next, we're also interested in how much is it going to cost us as an exporter to reach the market. We can see here that the tariff will range between 0 and 15%, and we can get detailed details at the national tariff line, looking at the different possibilities here. And then we can also see that the MFN rate, for instance, is 10%, whereas there's 2 preferential agreements that apply. And we can see the agreement details as well as the rules of origin that will need to be met to be able to comply with this. So here we have a change in tariff heading, so a substantial transformation, and in some cases also a regional value content requirement of 50% to be able to qualify as Colombian in this case. Once we know what kind of tariffs we might face, oftentimes the bigger challenge for exporters is knowing what are the requirements. So in this case, we can consult both the domestic requirements in Colombia and see the specific laws that apply here. And we can see the details for each law, and we can link to the documents and also have a summary of each one. And the same is true for the requirements in the Mexican market. Below our in addition, we also have notified regulatory changes. So these are the notifications from the World Trade Organization that are relevant for SPS and TBT. And so they give us an update of what are the latest regulatory changes that have been made that could apply to this product. So we can also consult those details to make sure we have access to the latest changes. In addition, we have information on sustainability standards. So if we're looking to export fair trade or organic face creams, what are the private standards that could apply? Now, once we feel like we are interested in the Mexican market and it seems to make sense and know how to adapt our products accordingly, we can consider selling online. So we have this new Go Digital section that gives us first the de minimis value, so the level below which no tariff will be charged. So in this case, it's 980 Mexican pesos. In addition, we can consult what are the transactional e-commerce marketplaces that are most popular in Mexico, but also open to foreign sellers. So the little check or the cross here will give us an indication that Amazon and Mercado Libre are open to foreign sellers, whereas Shein and Coppel, for instance, are not. And we have 66 platforms available to consult here. Now, if a company is looking to sell directly from their own website, we also have the digital payment solutions and the supported currencies to be able to ensure that they can make an informed choice. Now, once we've considered going digital, we have a last section that allows you to consult the different partners that you might want to also consider. So we have a business directory that comes from Connect Americas, and you can also find additional information from TradeMap by logging in there. That gives us health and beauty sector firms in Mexico. In addition, we have information on IP protection offices, trade finance providers, some of the TPOs that can help you along your journey, as well as information about logistics providers. So this brings together information from across all of the partner agencies to try to make it as easy as possible to find the information you need. Now, if we're not convinced about Mexico and want to compare China instead to see what our opportunities are there, we can see that this is also an attractive and growing market. So I will stop there and just finish with a couple of last slides to explain where we're heading or where we hope to go in the future. Now, all I wanted to mention is just that last year at the G20 Trade and Investment Ministers meeting, they launched something called the Jaipur Call for Action. And this is something that acknowledged the need for information for MSMEs, something that can help level the playing field. And it asked for a technological upgrade of the Global Trade Helpdesk. And the idea is to really try to leverage AI and other technologies to make the information, to overcome language barriers, to make the information more accessible and to be able to interact directly and converse with the information, and also to be able to create customized content and videos to help users, especially with the onboarding process. So this is what we're hoping to get in the coming months and year. But thank you so much, and I will now pass over to back to Ambassador Wilson.
No, you were correct the first time. It will be back to me, to Catherine Lundquist. I'm very pleased to be here with you to present the Trade for MSMEs website. So we've just gone through the Global Trade Helpdesk, which is an extremely powerful tool. And I will say, as part of the MSME Informal Working Group, we have heard from small businesses that have used the Global Trade Helpdesk to start their trade journey and have successfully completed their exports using the services there. However, what I want to also note is that there is a lot of information on the Global Trade Helpdesk. And if you don't have the background to necessarily understand what some of the terms are, it may be mystifying. You may open the front page and try to understand what an HS code is, but you won't know it, and you will have a hard time locating the appropriate number. And that's where I would direct you to the Trade for MSMEs platform. This was a platform from the MSME Informal Working Group to try to bring together all of the verified information resources that we are aware of from the many different international organizations out there trying to support small businesses to trade internationally. Here, I'll introduce you to the homepage. We have two different main entrance points, one for businesses and entrepreneurs, the other for policymakers and researchers. Since we're following Carmen's journey, I also want to highlight that we have this in 3 languages up at the top, in English, French, and Spanish. And being from Colombia, Carmen may want to access this in Spanish. Here, after she has determined that she really wants to look through it from a business perspective, she will then think in terms of the fact that she's exporting face creams and other products. And this is a goods trade. So she will go into this section of the website. And here, we have a map that's supposed to take you through the trade journey, all the way from what should I do before I export, to I've exported, I have a problem, what do I do now? If you were to click on any one of those points on that trade journey, will be brought down to our list of guides for small businesses. And in each one of these, we have a topic. So in this in this point, export readiness assessment. So Carmen is just on the beginning of her journey. She wants to see, am I ready to start exporting these face creams? Let me check through this guide here. She'll go in. There's a brief overview. I have heard that this website has been compared to the Wikipedia of trade. It may be a generous comparison. On the other hand, that is the intention. It's supposed to be a short overview of the topic, followed by links to supporting information at the bottom. So Carmen could go through this, read through the different points in terms of export readiness, and access even more information if that's what she's looking for. There are over 50, I think we have close to 80 topics, in fact, for small businesses on different points. So maybe along the way, Carmen is wondering what an HS code, as I noted above, we have a guide for that. Maybe she's wondering how to access trade finance. We have a guide for that. Maybe she as we will see later with the WIPO IP Diagnostics, maybe she wants to know what IP is and if she has any IP, and we have a guide linking to there. I want to also, because we're at the WTO and this is a forum for policymakers, I want to quickly go through this other branch of the website, which is for policymakers and researchers. Here we have another roadmap. This has different topics, but those that might be particularly interesting to policymakers. So the first one is just why do we care about small businesses and trade? And that sort of holds together the center of this map. We also have policymaker guides, and I'll quickly go through some of those. It's similar to the business guides, but has a different angle. And then what MSME trade data resources are out there. I will note that I personally use this frequently just to remember what all the sources are, because there's a variety of sources out there, and this is the best way for me to access them, because otherwise you have to remember individual links. What is happening at the international and regional level. So the MSME Informal Working Group makes sure to try to bring in the other international organizations through what we call the Trade for MSMEs Network. We meet once a year to try to update each other on the different points that we are doing to help support small businesses and trade. And then finally, what other organizations exist to help support MSMEs and trade, because it's not just international organizations. There are a lot of nonprofits as well, and others that are out there that we have verified as providing excellent resources. So just to quickly go through some of the policymaker guides, here's an example. We can look at gender. Given that Carmen is a female entrepreneur, this is a particularly important topic for our policymakers here at the WTO. How can we support them? And in here, again, it's another section with information on why this topic is important, followed by links to external resources. I will also note that this was an addition in 2023. We now have an Explore by Region section. So in this case, Carmen may want to go and look at what information is available for South and Central America, as she's from Colombia. If you go into here, there's a brief overview at the top of this regional section just about the trade in Colombia. Not in Colombia, in the South and Central American region. And then going down, you can see a list of the economies that we have put into that region. It's based on WTO members and observers. Going into Peru, actually, because this is the destination market for where she would like to export her products to. You can then see an overview of the economy itself, followed by some general information, such as what the currency is, what the time zones are, some basic information on Peru, financial information where she could maybe access some trade finance if needed, and additional contact information that's based on government resources and contact information that could be useful. Where available, we have tried to pull in if there are government HS or tariff schedules that we can list here, or other government information. And I see in this case that Peru maybe has less than some other economies, but I would invite you to explore. Then just in general, we have a search feature within the website. It might make it easier if you have a specific topic that you're looking for information on. And I want to finish with just briefly mentioning the trade game that was also released in 2023. And maybe at the very beginning of her journey, Carmen might think, what does it take to trade? And if she were to play the game, she might then understand why she would like to read through some of the guides on the Trade for MSMEs website because of the complexity that's involved. And I invite you to test your own skills to see if you have what it takes to export. In this game, you have to select your origin, your destination, and your product, and you have to see if you can export your product on time and within budget. So with that, I will leave you here with the website for the Trade for MSMEs game. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and good morning, good afternoon to all. Thank you for being present today. My name is Mariana Velasco. I work in the IP for Business division in the World Intellectual Property Organization, helping businesses of all sizes, but in particular the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to make a better use of the intellectual property and to take all the advantages that the system provides to businesses in making a better use of their intangible assets. The IP for Business division is strategically located under the IP innovation ecosystem sector, where we also find other divisions focused in helping the rest of the stakeholders of the ecosystem, university, policymakers, and conflict resolution units. So we know that as the economic activity becomes more and more globalized, with goods and services from all over the world competing in the same market, the success of a business depends in the creativity and innovation that they are able to provide. The intellectual property system plays a crucial role helping businesses prevent competitors from copying their products or services and creating a competitive advantage by differentiating themselves from the competitors. So our friend Carmen, when she decides to export her products to Peru or Mexico or China, she needs to start thinking about IP, how the intellectual property protection can help her prevent risks before it's too late, once she faces imitators or counterfeiters, or once they are accused of infringing the rights of others. The IP helps the businesses in growing and adding value to their companies. The system helps them protect the market share and the business competitive space, create new advantages and enhance visibility in crowded markets, access to technical and business information and knowledge through the databases that are available, helps avoid risks of violating third-party rights and generate additional revenue for the company. IP protection makes it easier for an enterprise to access new markets through licensing, franchising, the establishment of joint ventures or other contractual agreements with other companies. IP rights helps firms to establish partnerships with other firms for the protection, marketing, distribution, or delivery of goods and services in foreign markets. It may also provide a company with greater bargaining power when seeking the licensing technology from other firms that might be interested in its own property technology, copyright works, designs, trademarks, etc. At WIPO, according to a recent study from WIPO and Lewis Business School, investment in intangible assets like brands, designs, data, and software increased 3 times faster than investment in physical assets, such as factories or machinery, between 2008 and 2023. However, we know that MSMEs continue to make little use of the IP system. And this is due to a series of factors, and we can pinpoint to some of them: the lack of awareness of what is the intellectual property system and how the intangible assets that they own can help in the business achieve their business goal. There are limited assessment techniques of the value of those assets, lack of professional advice, and the idea that the IP system is too complex and time-consuming. And last but not least, the idea that the IP is more a cost rather than an investment. To overcome these challenges, WIPO has put together a tool that is free of charge, easy to use, with a language that is intended to be very easy to understand for the businesses to be able to first understand what is IP and how the IP assets they own help the business become more successful, to provide information on how to make a good assessment of the IP rights they have, and show the general guidance on the way forward in using those IP assets, rather protecting or using the different possibilities of the system. Some of the most common mistakes made by exporters include the following: believing that the IP protection is universal, assuming that the laws and procedures for the protection of IP rights are the same worldwide, not using the regional or international protection systems available, missing important deadlines for filing applications abroad, disclosing information too early without a confidentiality or non-disclosure agreement, not checking whether a trademark is already registered or is being used by competitors in the export market, exporting licensed products without authorization from the licensor, not defining issues or ownership of IP rights when outsourcing manufacturing, seeking to license a product in a market where the relevant patent, design, or trademark is not protected, and using a trademark that is inappropriate for the market in question. So this tool, the IP diagnostic tool, will help the business overcome all those challenges. It's structured as an online self-assessment tool where the businesses can go and respond to a series of questions on the general organization of the business. These questions will lead to the second phase of the diagnostic, that is more focused on the IP rights that the business may have, and the different information that the business needs to know before embarking in the export in a foreign country. So this tool can be used in any device, in a computer, in a mobile or a tablet. It will last approximately 1 hour if you complete the whole section. And as I was saying, you can use it as many times as you want. I'm going to do a very short live demonstration of how the tool works. Here. No. Here. So it will bring you to this page, and if we take the example of Carmen, we will respond to the questions that are included in this first part. So Dermalux will respond to the questions: have you developed a product, process, service, or technical modification that you consider new, innovative, or unique? And we will say yes. They have these beauty products that have a composition that is unique, and they can protect it through, for example, a patent. Do you generate materials like manuals, pamphlets, labels, or produce videos, software, newsletters, music clips, etc.? We said that she has a web page and social media where she posts all the content on her company. Do you use features like patterns, lines, colors, or shapes to make the external appearance of the packaging of your products attractive? We will say yes, that they invest a lot of time and efforts in making the products very attractive. Does your business rely on information that you consider commercially valuable and that you do not want your competitors to have access to? Here we have a small information button where we can understand a little bit more what is this type of information. And we are talking about any technical and scientific information, strategic information like marketing, business methods, competitive intelligence, but also financial information and commercial information. So for any company, this will be a yes. Do you use a logo or other sign to distinguish your products or services from those of others? And we know that Dermalux is registered in Colombia. So we will say yes. They also have their logo. Do you rely on external suppliers, independent contractors, or consultants for ensuring stocks, getting components, developing materials, running advertising campaigns, etc.? We will say yes. Do you have or intend to create a website? They do. Do you manufacture or sell products outside the country where your business is based? We know that she's already exporting to Peru and is thinking about exporting to China or Mexico. Do you have employees? We will say yes. And do you have access to intellectual properties expertise? We will say no here. And with this basic information, we already know that Carmen has in her business trademarks, confidential information, designs, creative materials, inventive or innovative products or processes, employment aspects, website, and we have up here two reports that are generated on information that is important to bear in mind when you have your company has relationships with external suppliers or contractors on how the IP that is generated is going to be treated, who is the owner of that IP, and the recommendations that we make or that we give to the business to be in the safe side when using third-party rights in their business. So the invitation is for Carmen to go and select each of these areas and respond to the new series of questions that will be available, and then she will have a whole and comprehensive report information on each of the IP rights that she may have. Once Carmen finishes this diagnostic, the invitation is that she reads the reports, and then she makes a list, an inventory of the IP rights that she has. She books a date, an appointment with an advisor to have a better idea of what is the best way forward for the company and start building an IP strategy. Just to go back to the future of the WIPO diagnostic tool and what we are working on right now. The WIPO diagnostic was built as a generic tool. It provides information on the generalities of the IP in each of the IP rights, and it's more like a first step into learning how IP can help the businesses, what are the benefits of using IP and the risks of not understanding the IP rights of third parties. It was launched in 2021, and it has been growing in popularity with over 30,000 unique users. So we have been receiving from member states requests to translate to additional languages. Right now we have the 6 languages plus 20 additional languages, and adapted to the different localities of the legal framework of different countries. Now we are moving towards an adaptation of different industries, sector-specific tools that will deep dive in one of the industries. For example, we have already one for the publisher sector, and we are working on the fashion industry, agri-food, and video game sector. We will continue to do this exercise of adapting and translating as our member states require. And we hope this tool is used by as many MSMEs as possible to give them this information they are seeking for. Back to you, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mariana. You know, I have to tell you, every time I look at these tools, I get more amazed, you know, by the kind of the information that is there, by how easy it is to be able to access it. And I love the fact that the 3 agencies are working together on this. And I recognize UNCTAD in the room as well, who I know is also a huge contributor to the Global Trade Helpdesk. And, you know, when you look at the statistics, you will see that small businesses in particular may spend about 10 to 20% of their bottom line, their budget, on this kind of research. I mean, can you imagine how much it would cost to go to a consultancy to get this kind of research? So this is also impacting their bottom line as well. This is giving them actually greater ownership of their profit margins. And it sometimes boggles my mind that member states here in the WTO don't do enough to publicize these tools with their trade promotion organizations, with their chambers of commerce, with their small business associations. In my mind, every single WTO member that has a website should have a link to these tools, because this is the most incredible free tool that you're giving to your small businesses. And if you say that your small businesses are the engines of growth moving forward and of employment generation, then you are gifting them something that would ordinarily cost them 15% of their bottom line if they went to the market. So my question to or rather my request to the colleagues in the room and the 30 colleagues that we have online is explore with WTO, ITC, and WIPO how you can integrate these tools into your offerings to your own SMEs. So I'm going to open the floor for some questions and comments. I think we may have some online. So what I would do is I would ask Catherine if she would be so kind as to read the question out and see which of the panel would want to respond.
Sure, happy to. Thank you. So the question we have is, how can Global Trade Helpdesk support after a destination market has been identified, e.g. logistics management, finding potential customers, etc.? And I know that this is exactly in Anya's camp to answer, and she will do a fantastic job. Over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. So Global Trade Helpdesk really intends to give you the information you need and connect you with the partners. We do not provide logistics services, but we're happy to give you access to connecting with logistics services, to connecting with the TPOs. And while we don't find your buyers for you, we will connect you with relevant databases of potential buyers. So the idea of Global Trade Helpdesk is really to simplify market research and connect you with the resources like Trade for MSMEs, which also has tons of useful links that can also help in these directions. So we don't provide that direct service. There was actually one additional question, which I already answered, but I will read out as well. It said, will Trade for MSMEs and the Global Trade Helpdesk provide API integration for other organizations to connect their websites and mobile applications to be able to leverage data repositories of these portals? Catherine, I had given an answer that was there's no API for the moment, but we welcome collaboration with other organizations and integrating additional information. I don't know if you'd like to build on that and add on that.
Well, I will just note that there is no API for the Trade for MSMEs website. However, anyone is welcome to include a link to it on their webpage. We're very happy to have the information shared more broadly. So, and I believe that's the same for the Global Trade Helpdesk.
Definitely. That would be, I guess, the one favor I would ask for those of you who think this is useful is to help us spread the word and help us make sure that businesses can use these resources, hopefully, and make life easier for them in that respect. I think that's all the questions we have for the moment.
For those of us who are a little lower down on the IQ line like me, what is API? Honestly, what does it mean?
It's a protocol to directly connect your, my understanding, and please, anybody correct me if I am not telling this correctly, but it's a protocol for connecting your databases directly with the databases that we're putting out there so that you can download the data directly and publish it as your own. So this is why there's a preference in this case. Well, for the Trade for MSMEs website, we don't have any databases. We ourselves are linking to those that are already published. So this is why there is no API for the Trade for MSMEs. For the Global Trade Helpdesk, there are a lot of data resources that you are pulling. However, and I'll let Anya answer this further, but my understanding is that the Global Trade Helpdesk does a lot of cleaning and a lot of processing on this that makes it more valuable for the Global Trade Helpdesk to share the entire website as opposed to a direct link. But Anya.
Thanks, Catherine. No, that's exactly right. So 95% of the information that you see in Global Trade Help Desk is like directly via API. And the reason is that we pull together so much data and we want it to be as up to date and as relevant as possible. So this is the strategy. And it's true that at the moment, we don't have a plan to create an API to make all of the data available, accessible that way. But we're very happy to cross-link and we're very happy to integrate additional data. We're also exploring, we'd like to also expand into new languages and work with additional partners. So if there's an interest, we're really happy to explore that further.
No, thank you. And quite frankly, the website, the tools are so intuitive and so easy to use that you actually don't need to have, kind of a very dedicated analysis for yourself. You can easily just link to the website and your SMEs will be able to go through this in a very intuitive manner. But I guess I do have one. Well, first of all, let me open the floor in the room to see if there are any questions or comments. So I have a question. I know, and especially because we have Pamela from UNCTAD here, I know both ITC and UNCTAD have trade facilitation portals. Is there any way that you have explored integrating these web portals and the Global Trade Help Desk with the trade facilitation portals? Annie?
It's an excellent question. And as I think Pamela will attest, this is something that we have worked on from the very beginning, even in Paraguay, where we collected and had collection of trade procedure data together. So there are, I didn't feature this in the demo because it's only available, unfortunately, for certain countries that have trade portals, but we have incredibly useful and very specific data from UNCTAD trade portals, from national trade portals, that gives you a summary of how much it costs to export your product, how many days you need to export your product, what are the exact steps to be able to do so. So in the case of Colombia, there is not an existing trade information portal, but if we were to look at Kenya, for instance, we have this incredibly rich data for over 50 products. And we work very closely with UNCTAD. And I know that there's new trade portals like for Egypt coming soon that Pamela is working on that we will certainly be integrating. So yes, whenever available. This is something that I think I didn't show very carefully on the Global Trade Help Desk. I gave you a general overview, but in certain areas you can find very rich and specific data. I didn't want to show you the best coverage of the best product because I don't want to create expectations that you can find that for everything, but there is really a lot to find. And also, I didn't go through the trade facilitation agreement database, all of the useful links we have from the WTO. There's really so much more that you can explore on your own. I see also we have a few additional questions in the Q&A. I don't know if we should try to go through those as well.
I want to give the floor to
yes, Pamela.
Pamela, please.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Wilson, for the question, and also to Anya. I just wanted to add that what the beauty of this trade portal, that the trade facilitation trade portals that UNCTAD together with ITC are implementing, is that we put ourselves in the shoes of the exporters. So we go to every single agency and go to every single step, and we recorded that. And I would say the second beauty of this is that in the process, we start to streamline the procedure. We did that, for example, in Paraguay. We saw that there were some redundancies in other countries also. One good news is that there are different trade portals done by the World Bank, amazing also, and other organizations, and they are moving forward to this kind of trade portal step by step, because putting yourself in the shoes of the SMEs is really important, because you can live the reality and give a better tailor-made solutions for them. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
So I couldn't agree with you more. And what is really special about the work that all four of these international organizations and their teams are doing is that everything they do is part of a feedback loop with small businesses. Everything that they've done here responds to the stated needs of small businesses. This is not something coming from trade diplomats or negotiators. This is information that small businesses have said is useful for them. So I'm going, as Anya said, there are a few questions here, but I do have a comment for Mariana, because, just yesterday, the MSME working group, we gave two prizes to two amazing new small business champions, and they were focused on supporting Indigenous communities. And both of them raised this issue of IP, how incredibly important this was for Indigenous communities, but how there's such a huge gap of information in the Indigenous communities about the value of IP, how to use it, how to access it, how to do this exact kind of work. And with the recent successes at WIPO with your agreement after 25 years, how exactly are you intending to use this tool to reach out to Indigenous communities in particular?
Thank you, Ambassador. And yes, it's a big news, this new agreement that was recently concluded, and that highlighted the importance of the communities, of the Indigenous communities, and the traditional knowledge they have. And we are at WIPO helping all under, let's say, the communities or the players that use the little, that don't use really the IP system through international cooperation with projects, in cooperation with institutions in the ground, and identifying those organizations that are, they are grouped in different organizations, and we reach to those organizations and we create capacity. We do like very long projects where we try to really walk them through the whole system and explain to them the importance of the knowledge that they have and how they can really take advantage of all of these. We have a dedicated division for the Indigenous community, so traditional knowledge, and we are really focusing on helping those communities better understand and use through these kind of tools, but also working in the ground with the institutions and the organizations that really have the access to them, because from WIPO it seems really difficult to reach to them. They won't see WIPO as a go-to organization, so we go to the organizations they trust and they know, and this is how we do this type of cooperation in the ground.
Fantastic, because as your boss Darren said yesterday, you have to go where they are. You need to meet them where they are. You can't do it from here. And there are a number of questions or comments online. One which I absolutely love, which says that these tools are mind-blowing. But then he also says, why have we not heard about these tools before? But I know from experience that Anya and her team are always on the ground trying to share information on these tools. I do think that we need to maybe ramp up our advocacy around it even more. And like I said, try to see how we can integrate these things into domestic and national portals. But there are two questions there specifically on Africa and the AFCFTA. So Anya, I don't know if you want to handle those.
Thank you, Matthew. No, and yes, I would just like to echo that we are always keen to partner for outreach, for trainings, for whatever you think could really help businesses in your country. And also we do group trainings as well, and we're happy to continue that. On the AFCFTA, to the extent that the negotiations are finalized on a specific topic and we've received the information from countries, it is integrated into market access map, which then feeds it into the global trade help desk. So we do try to provide that information in the most timely way that we can. So yes, this is also tools that can be used for African economies and for exploring trade between African economies.
We also have UNIDO in the room, who is actually doing tremendous work. If I make a little bit of a pitch for Barbados, doing great work with Barbados now in terms of launching a global SIDS hub in Barbados. And I know they're also involved in this and they have their own data. So I wonder if UNIDO, they want to say a few words on this.
Yes, thank you very much, Dorina Nati from UNIDO. We are a partner of the Trade Help Desk, and I'm very happy that we do have our own portal, the UNIDO Knowledge Hub, which provides information, feeds information through linking to the Trade Help Desk. And this information is mostly to understand where are the challenges when it comes to exports. And this is very concrete, analyzing market border rejection data. So what are the reasons that products from one particular country are rejected at the borders where they're trying to import? This gives very specific information about very specific bottlenecks and helps then to direct the resources, which in most cases are limited to very targeted interventions. Also gives a lot of information about conformity assessment. It's often a challenge, especially for small producers, to find the right service providers in their countries or in countries close to them. There's also capacity building, some trainings. So we're very happy to feed into the Trade Help Desk, and we do this mostly through linking the information from the UNIDO Knowledge Hub. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. You know, sometimes when I listen to you guys speak on these things, I think there is also such an incredible feedback loop if we were to use it properly for trade negotiators, because essentially what you are doing is you're identifying what the bottlenecks are, what businesses are actually saying we need trade rules to be able to do to unlock our ability to grow and trade, rather than, with all due respect to us trade negotiators in the room, who sometimes negotiate in a vacuum, sometimes don't reflect the views and perspectives of our small businesses. Is there any way that you can also pull narrative stories from this information, from these tools, that can actually be useful for policymakers? That's an open question to the 5 agencies in the room.
I think I'll jump in here. I don't see a lot of people pressing for the microphone, but just to go back to the Trade for MSMEs website and the fact that we have a whole section dedicated to policymakers. Do I have a case study of how it was useful? I haven't heard a specific study or a specific story from a member. On the other hand, what I understand is that this is particularly helpful for onboarding new delegates. It has information that can really bring people up to speed on the background of the issues and the interaction between them. I mean, for small businesses in particular, it really covers, if you'll look through the Trade for MSMEs website, a very broad range of issues. I mean, as I showed gender, you don't necessarily think right off the bat that gender would be an issue for small businesses, but it is. I mean, that's where women entrepreneurs are most likely to be found as a small business. And then going through, it steps right through the different issues from trade facilitation down to access to finance. As I've underscored this over and over, small businesses cannot access finance at the same level as larger ones. So that interaction, I think, is very important for policymakers to see.
Yes, indeed. I think many of the tools that we have developed can provide guidance for policymakers. UNIDO, together with the International Network on Quality Infrastructure, has developed an index, for example, that helps you show or helps you see how prepared is the infrastructure, the quality infrastructure in your country. And this encompasses standardization, accreditation, conformity assessment, all of these institutions and bodies that initially, or their initial thought is to facilitate trade and to help businesses trade. But the index actually shows how prepared is the quality infrastructure to support the sustainable development of the country, not only looking at the dimension of trade and prosperity, but also environmental sustainability and social aspects. And as a matter of fact, the governments are using this to see where they can improve and where they can where they need to invest more to prepare their infrastructure to support sustainable development. And we have a lot of policymakers, governments coming and say, we have seen that we can improve in this area. Can you help us to do this? So I think there are definitely tools like these tools. It's information. And as a policymaker, as much information as you have, the more informed and better decision you can take.
Well, I will give another perspective. I actually think that these tools also enables small and medium-sized enterprises and the private sector to participate in the policy making. For example, in the case of the trade portals, being aware of all the procedures, all the steps, it gives the willingness the private sector to participate, for example, in the National Trade Facilitation Committee's meetings, where you have the roadmap, the strategies that are policy-making processes. So I think that these tools not only help policymakers, but also help SMEs, private sector to participate in the policy-making process. Thank you.
I will add also to the access to finance that through the WIPO diagnostic tool, policymakers, governments understand that more and more the economy is intangible and the real value of the companies is in the ideas, in the knowledge, in the software, the innovation and the creativity. And they are more and more inclined to understand how they can help small businesses access finance through the use of intangible assets. And this requires, like cross collaboration among all the players in the countries, because we have the finance institutions, but also the policy itself and the businesses using and knowing how to use the IP system. But this is bringing a new discussion among how they can work on the policy side to make this a reality. And at WIPO, we are doing a big work in IP and finance that I invite you to follow closely.
Okay, now I'm not saying that I have the power or the authority to give any direction to international organizations, but what I would ask the 5 organizations here to think about is whether or not there is scope to do a very simple 4 to 5 page policy recommendation brief, drawing on some of the key knots that you have seen from MSMEs using your tools that would be useful for policymakers to have for not only global trade negotiations, but especially FTAs and RTAs. I think, just an indication of through our 4 or 5 years of doing this, this is what we see as the ecosystem of concerns and problems, real concerns and real problems that MSMEs have been happening. And if you guys do that together, you're going to have the biggest space in the MSME working group to be able to showcase this. I think it is a natural evolution from you guys working together on data to be able to have some useful policy recommendations coming out. So that's my request for the 5 agencies to please think about. And on that note, we're going to end this morning's meeting. The session has been recorded, and I believe that Catherine and Emmanuel may put it on the Trade for MSMEs platform so people can go back and see what we've said. So everything you've said in here, you have to deliver on, which is the power of video. And I just thank you all very much for being here and being so engaged. So thank you so much.